Hello, everyone. It's the Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast known as the Cowlcast, where we talk about everything Batman. I'm Mikey, and joining me is
Demoan
and Mike.
Okay, guys. Since I had the first pick today, we're gonna be talking about Batman: Sword of Azrael, the story that introduced Azrael to the DC mythos, and it's written by Dennis O'Neil and drawn by the well-known Marvel artist and former editor-in-chief Joe Quesada.
Yep. What is his exact title at Marvel now? Is he?
I have no clue.
I want to say he's like chief creative officer. He's in some weird exec position there.
All right.
But yeah, this Sword of Azrael, you missed a name on there. It's inked by Kevin Nowlan, who is another great Batman artist. So you got three big names on this book. Its publication dates ran from October to January of 1993. And as you said, what introduced Jean-Paul Valley, a.k.a. Azrael, into the Batman mythos.
Yeah, I love Azrael. He's one of my favorite, Batman characters in the Batman mythos. He's really freaking cool.
So, and with that said, did you like Sword of Azrael?
Yeah, it was cool.
I didn't really enjoy it.
The story, I like the concept of the story a lot, because I like old-timey, night stories like that, but, I felt like there were parts of it that could have been executed better.
As far as Dennis O'Neil's writing goes, the great former Batman writer in the late 60s and 70s with Neil Adams and Frank Robbins. O'Neil would later become the editor-in-chief of the Batman line for ever. But he wrote this. I honestly don't think O'Neil's writing is that strong here, nor do I think Quesada's art's very good, particularly when he draws Batman.
Yeah, Batman has those weird, spiky handlebar things.
Yep.
But he had that, in Justice League of America.
Yeah, he has it in JLA, and it seems like the only artist that can draw the weird spiked things right is Howard Porter.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm so used to Quesada with his Marvel work on Daredevil. I'm not used to him doing DC stuff, so it was kind of weird reading this.
It's really weird. The coloring in this book gives me, Batman the Animated Series vibes because of how vibrant the colors are and how dark the shading is. But the big, we already mentioned, the weird shoulder pikes on Batman that Quesada draws. He also draws the bat symbol really freaking huge.
Yeah, it's
wow.
Encompasses most of his top.
Yeah, it's his whole chest.
It's so weird.
Mikey, you want to tell us a little about this story as we dive into issue 1, as this was a 4-issue miniseries?
Yeah. So, the story picks up with Azrael pointing at a person that he's targeting. With this, I'm not used to the mask looks a lot different than it does on the cover, so you can tell that this is another version of Azrael.
It's much more like a knight.
Yeah, more like a knight version.
Which it's probably the old time, they said it was Crusader Age when it first started, so that was probably one of the original outfits. More actual knight based.
Yep.
Yeah, but it looks really cool because you see the swords on fire and everything looks pretty terrifying if I was facing Azrael. And then the next page, he basically is talking about how he can't be killed and all this stuff. He's I can't be killed.
And then he's immediately killed.
Yeah, then he gets immediately shot by the villain his name is I can't pronounce his name. It's Leha.
Yeah, Francois Leha.
Leha.
Yeah, Leha. Okay. Leha shoots him turns him into Swiss cheese, and right when he's about to do the finishing blow, Azrael jumps out of the window to not die.
But you forgot that he left Mr. Leha a nice scar across.
Yeah,
his
a nice
face
scar on his eye.
The classic eye scar that makes everyone look tough.
Yeah.
But this Azrael's able to get away. He jumps on a horse during the Gotham Founders Parade and basically crawls back to his home where his son takes him in and puts him in bed. And then he dies.
And then he dies right there. Yeah.
And then we cut to Batman investigating the crime of and they find the bulletproof vest that Azrael is wearing as it's just completely shot up. So Batman begins investigating what exactly went down. And then we go on a globe-trotting journey.
Yeah, where the hell do they even go? Switzerland or something?
They go all throughout Europe, and then they go to London at one point too.
Okay, yeah, I remember London.
Jean-Paul Valley is not named until the very final issue.
Yeah, and at the very end,
Yeah.
So this unnamed son of Azrael is then taken by Nomos, which is like this troll guy.
Yeah, what the fuck?
the troll voice, the entire time I just read it in the voice of like Danny DeVito and like Charlie.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't help that he looks exactly like Phil from the Hercules movie.
No, but like also like every time like he speaks, he says like this weird yeah thing.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Like whenever like it's written there.
Yeah, it's kind of grating to read it like that as it's in there.
It's so weird.
Because like you can't help give it this weird fucking voice because like it's not a normal like expression that you have.
Yeah, and after like reading this, I was like, so I guess trolls exist in the DC universe. Like that didn't. So
I mean, why
weird.
not?
Oh, there was something though that I like around. I started around this time, but like in the beginning of issue 2, it was like really bad. Like they tried to like pick up the pace, and they like they made a picture, put the words, and then cut it off in the middle, and then started on another picture, and like happened like 6 or 7 times in a row. And it just got really annoying.
Yeah, and also like while we get introduced to Nomo, we introduce like his like bodyguard, like Heinrich, who you don't really see much for the rest of like the book. You just see him like in this issue.
Right.
Oh gosh, just really weird. Like
this book. I mean, this whole book's weird, and it's very kind of disjointly told, the story, because it's just very choppy.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's like, oh, we got to get this new character set up here because we're going to make him the new Batman by the time Nightfall happens.
Yep.
Batman, we get to see Oracle appear for a second as she tells them about the Order of Saint Dumas, which then Batman starts investigating, which takes him on that plane journey to it looks like the Alps.
Yeah.
Their helicopter is shot down by Francois de La, and then that's the end of the issue. Jean-Paul Valley is like on set to become the new Azrael. So
yeah. But I just wanted to say something. Like prior to Oracle explaining the Order of Saint Dumas, like when Jean-Paul Valley like arrives and meets Nomo and Heinrich, like he doesn't really like the reason why he's there is just because he wants to like fulfills like his dad's wishes. Like before he died, he said like, here's a package, go to this place.
Yeah.
So like, and also like he like basically figured, I don't know like if it was stated clearly that if he knew his dad was Azrael like while he was alive.
The way I read it, I interpreted that it wasn't.
That it wasn't. Yeah, I interpreted that it was, but I wasn't really sure. But like what happens like when he meets Nomo and Heinrich, they just like Heinrich just slaps him right across the face. He's like, why did you do that? And he's like, you're not gonna fight back? He's like, no. Just repeat, starts to just slap him. I thought it was funny.
I just want to state, like, to give you an idea of how close we are to Nightfall, like, happening.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So this series runs October 92 to January of 93. So July of 1993 is Batman 497. That's the issue where Bruce gets his back broken. That's how close we are to Nightfall happening. I just want to say that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit farther away.
No, like, it's, like, all of Nightfall goes down the same year. Like, we're months away from, like, the first part, Broken Bat, taking place.
Wow, I didn't expect it to be that close. I thought it would be, like, I don't know.
I did not realize they were quite close either.
Like, a little while, like, after this story happened.
No, it's... Literally, they set... So, like, it makes me think, like, they had to have already set up for Azrael to be, like, this replacement Batman, easily.
Mm-hmm.
But, as we get to issue 2 of Sword of Azrael, Demoan, you want to handle issue number 2?
Mm-hmm. So, at the end of issue 1, we got to see Laha and one of his French henchmen shooting a tiny rocket that was super powerful at the hut that our new Azrael's staying at, and we start off with the destruction of that hut, and then the destruction, like the explosion, causes Bruce Wayne's helicopter that he and Alfred are flying because he decided it was fun to bring Alfred along with him this time.
What's funny is earlier this week I had read Batman Venom because I bought it. It's also written by Dennis O'Neil.
Yeah.
The same sequence happens in this that happens in Venom, where Batman is with Alfred, they're in a helicopter, and it gets shot down. But the only difference is they're in a plane instead of a helicopter.
Alright.
No, yeah, but the helicopter crashes into a tree, but luckily Azrael and Nomu were able to get down to a bomb shelter, and right before an avalanche happened, so they got lucky.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not really, because they got trapped under a shelter under an avalanche, but they didn't die in the explosion is the point.
But Bruce Wayne is able to assemble snowshoes from makeshift parts of a helicopter.
Yeah, and what branches?
What branches?
Yeah.
Copper wiring and what bits of what branch. It's like he's just a Boy Scout at this point.
Which is funny they call him that, because normally we associate Superman as being the Boy Scout.
As the Boy Scout.
I found that interesting, but Batman has his first fight with Azrael.
Oh, our villain's helicopter also crash landed.
Yeah. There's helicopter crashes all over this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And our villain, he meets this demon guy whose name is Beast?
Beast?
One of the two. Beast?
I'm going to go with Beast.
Yeah, so the demon Beast, who's the eternal enemy of Azrael. To prove his loyalty to Beast, he kills his partner, and now he is a servant of Beast.
And he looks fatter. Francois looks fatter in the armor of Beast.
And I just want to add when his helicopter crashed, I don't you see in that panel you see an imprint of a skull in the snow, and though
yeah,
is this an hallucination that he's seeing, or did they actually crash when when the helicopter crashed and we created an imprint in the snow that looks exactly like a skull?
And we should mention that in Jean-Paul Valley's first fight as Azrael with Batman, he loses his sword and basically kind of gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
He just leaves the sword, though.
Yeah. And he just kind of fails miserably. And then he gets his new upgraded costume, which is the one everyone kind of likes.
Yeah, everyone is more...
I like both of the costumes, I'm being completely honest.
I mean, this is the Azrael that I most associate with. This is the first Azrael costume I saw as a kid. But, Azrael's had, 9 different costumes.
Yeah, I mean, the night one's cool, but I like the more updated look. It's a lot sleeker.
I really like the mask.
Yeah, the mask is awesome, and the hood. But and also I like how they ditched the sword and just went with 2 gauntlet blades.
Yeah, the gauntlets look cool. It's very 90s, but hey, I dig this design just because. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know how long it really stayed because Azrael got constantly updated costumes.
Yeah.
But no, I like this look. It's like I said, it's a product of the time, but it's not as bad as Beast, which is basically a combination of Taskmaster and Cable.
Yeah.
And they make him he's massive too.
Yeah, he's fat.
Really fat.
I did not realize he was this big of a man, but when they draw him outside of the costume and even in the costume, he's massive.
Yes.
He's got to weigh at least 300.
That outfit's just really weird.
Pounds.
But so Nomo is taking Jean-Paul Valley to try to track down Beast because we found out that Francois Lahan is a now traitorous member of the Order of Saint Dumas, and he's going and taking out all of the living members of the Order to basically exterminate them forever. So it's up to Azrael to try to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
Which, because their whole stupid rule of Azrael does not save, Azrael avenges, basically they're just letting them die, and it's up to Azrael to just eventually kill Beast.
Yeah.
It's just such a flaw. It's let's go into this. He's he wants to go into the hospital protection, but no, Azrael avenges. You don't go in there with protection, and then there's the guy shows up there trying to kill, and he's yo, go change now. It's
but you told him not to.
Yeah. And then Jean Paul, as he's holding his duffel bag with the Azrael armor, and it just gets blasted out a window.
Yeah.
And that's how the issue ends. We're oh, is he dead?
And it makes you think, did he die? But obviously, he's been around the comics for so long where he's not gonna die. And plus, the armor is all folded, so it's probably gonna give him extra protection. But it's hilarious.
That's how they explained a way that he ended up surviving, because the armor was folded.
The armor was folded.
But I want to flash back to something. When Batman and Alfred went into the bunker after the fight, and it didn't explode even though it was set to because of a faulty wire, Alfred was able to scrounge up some frozen food and make a spinach fajita and Batman said he expected chocolate, and
He did.
Alfred's response is a chocolate fajita that would be barbarian. And
But the thing is, like, I wouldn't ever expect like Batman to like ask for chocolate because like chocolate's not healthy.
it's because they're in Switzerland, which is one of the things they're known for. But I just like Alfred's joke of a chocolate fajita.
Oh, it's yep.
And also, just to talk about just like a little bit about Azrael, also to flashback to like the first issue about like how the Azrael process works when it comes to like brainwashing. And,
yeah,
like,
it's a little bit weird. It's because it's one of those things that I've constantly seen. Like, it's a different explanation every time I've seen Azrael pop up in things.
Yeah. But they mention like the system, which is like I don't because you're right because they explain it in like differently in other like in Azrael like lore, but like from my understanding, it's like I'm assuming like a program that's installed like in your mind as like a baby, so like that's like a failsafe, I guess I would assume. It's really weird.
It is very odd, yeah. It seems like something that wasn't like completely thought out in the time that it was written, and something that was just kind of more fleshed out as time went on. Yeah, because like John Paul, when you first see him in Gotham, like he's unaware of like the whole Azrael thing, and then his like when he meets Nomo, he then is shows him like the pennant of like the Order of Saint Dumas, and that's when like the programming starts to kick in, and then he starts like his mind just starts like transforming. Yeah, it all happens very fast. Yeah, but to my understanding, like because Azrael was in the it was a different iteration, but he was in the Arkham games. It was Michael Lane, not John Paul Valley. Right, and which Michael Lane was the second Azrael in at least in DC Comics. Well, unless we're counting Jean Paul's dad, he would be the third. He'd be the third, yeah. But yeah, Michael Lane was like his deal was he was a Gotham City cop, right? Yeah, he was a Gotham City cop, and he popped up right as the end of the DC universe as we knew it before New 52 happened. So he had a series that didn't run so many, like only ran like maybe 12 issues. I don't believe it's ever been collected except for the crossover event, which goes through Batman, Detective, and I think Azrael's main book. But Michael Lane was the one that was using the Arkham games, and I was like, oh, Michael Lane's pretty cool, but sorry, we've never seen him pop up. And because, if you're wondering, the Jean Paul Valley, I believe, died in 2003. Did he? Okay, that explains it. Yeah. So there wasn't an Azrael until then. But now in Rebirth, if you've been reading Detective Comics by Tynion, in Tynion or James Tynion's run, Azrael does pop up in there. Yeah, and he's on he's on Detective Comics actually. I think he's still on Detective Comics. Well, we'll see what happens. Tynion's run's now over, but he did show up for a little bit. Okay. And he was wearing basically kind of like the old like Asbat's armor. Yeah, but it looked a lot better. Yeah, it was cleaned up a little bit.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. But as we go on to issue 3, our penultimate issue, Batman we get some Batman action. Which, by the way, Batman in this is mostly out of costume. Yeah.
Okay, no. He's always in costume because he wears it under his clothes, but we mostly see him in the street clothes over.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about seeing like leather jacket, sunglasses, Bruce Wayne?
I think it's kind of funny.
I thought it was cool. I mean, I'm not used to it, but I thought it was interesting.
Well, I think it does separate it because it actually does show that this is basically Azrael's story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you have too much Batman, unless there's another big name, it just becomes kind of his story.
Yeah. And also, like, it shows, like Bruce, like, how Bruce Wayne is capable of, like, handling himself and without, like, utilizing the bat suit and all that stuff, so.
So you got that going for it, which is neat. But, yeah. But Bruce Wayne is captured by Beast as he's trying to go after him in the hospital. He gets like acid and chemicals spilled on him.
And it
Yeah,
creates,
he gets like an entire shelf.
Yeah.
like,
It's hilarious.
and
Which
it
normally,
causes
if that
some kind of,
happens
like,
in the DC universe,
airflow reaction.
you get speed powers.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's only when it's matched with electricity, right?
Yeah, but what if lightning
And a lightning
strike?
bolt. So if lightning bolt did strike Bruce Wayne there, he'd become the next Flash.
You should have made that into a what if story. That'd been cool.
But in the fight with Beast, he looks more and more like a demon in that time, though.
Yeah, it turns it's like some kind of bootleg scarecrow serum where they hallucinate monsters.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. Because I literally, like, before I'm like, did he actually just transform into a demon? Like, is this man the real deal?
And then Beast throws Alfred into a truck as he drags Bruce into an ambulance and drives away and kidnaps him. So Alfred has to team up with Nomo and Jean-Paul.
The contrast between Alfred and Nomo is actually really funny when it comes to, like, their decision-making skills. It's really funny.
It's kind of like they're like the angel and the devil on the shoulders of Azrael at this point.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I get from Dennis O'Neil and his rating is that he likes to utilize Alfred and actually put him in the field, and have him do action, because he does that in Venom, where he's with Batman the entire mission, but Batman has to save him as he gets captured, and they cut his legs, so blood starts draining into the ocean, so a shark will eat him. So Batman has to fight a shark.
Yeah.
So if we ever do Batman Venom, we'll cover that story. But
I didn't even know that existed, man. This sounds weird.
Yeah, in the second to last issue, he fights a shark.
Oh, did you use shark repellent?
No, he doesn't, but he makes a joke about it. He just punches it in the nose really hard. It's awesome. But Batman is basically Beast, as Batman's captured, steals his costume.
Yep.
So and then he starts posing as Batman as he's once again. They are incredibly slow to trying to save the Order Saint Dumas because Francois Lahan has basically like killed 5 of them, and there's like 1 left now.
Yeah, and they're like always too late when they do show up. It's like
they're not even late in the sense of like, oh, you just missed them. You're like a couple hours late.
It's like you're finding a cold body pretty much.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh. I just wanted to add something. Like, for example, like when Alfred is trying to talk to Jean-Paul about what they should do. I like how, like, Nomo is, like, the traditional, like, he follows, like, the Order of Saint Dumas, like, code of conduct when it comes to how Azrael should do things. But then, Alfred's on doing more, like, how, like, Bruce Wayne, Batman approach, where it's, like, like, for example, it's, like, Nomo's like, Azrael does not think, Azrael punishes. But then Alfred's like, maybe perhaps this one does both, because,
Yeah, and that's kind of instilled as Azrael jumps into action at the end of the issue, and we're like, oh, okay, let's go.
Yeah, cool.
And then we get to our final issue, which it seems like 4 issues is a very weird length for writers, because when you have this, everything is very super fast in the 4th issue. It seems like 5 would honestly be like the sweet number for series like this, because if you do 6, it always feels too long, and 4 just feels a little bit short.
Yeah.
But Azrael's springing into action, and he kills everything.
Dude, it's it's brutal.
And Alfred's mortified.
Like this timid guy who's like, yeah, let's help Bruce. Like he just fucking murders everybody.
The thing is, but when he puts on the mask, that's when his programming is, like, more into effect, and he loses control. So he's not really, like, he doesn't want to kill these people, but, like, in the end, it's the programming he's taking control, and, And this dude is killing dogs. He's killing...
Oh, yeah, he murders, like, 2 dogs?
Yeah, like...
Chops one's head off.
Oh, gosh. But it's really cool because, like, the whole, like flaming blade gauntlets thing, it looks so cool.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a good action scene, but it's just, like, it's comical how much he just murders everything. It clearly has to be a shot at 90s comics and how overly violent they were.
Yeah.
Because that's the point of Azrael.
Yeah.
is he's ironically cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Mikey.
No, it's all good.
I mean, he fires one of his blade gauntlets, like a flaming blade gauntlet, into a guy through a tree.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, what you expect when you read this character, but, like...
Oh, it's... You don't get more 90s than that. The only thing
Honestly.
that would make him more 90s if he had pouches on his costume and he started carrying a giant gun.
I mean, he has pouches on his gauntlets, if you look closely.
Wait, they're on there?
No,
Yeah.
wait, no.
Like, are they not tiny pouches?
Oh my god, he's right. They are.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the panel when he's diving through the window. There's pouches on the gauntlets. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I was wondering what those were. I was like, but I'm like, this can't be pouches.
No, they're pouches. I don't know why you'd put them on gauntlets, but, like, they're there.
Gauntlets that light on fire, no less.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I hope there's nothing flammable in those pouches.
That's this. All right, I think that takes the cake for least functional pouch spot
Honestly.
on a suit in comic book history. Jean-Paul Valley Azrael's first costume.
God.
Like, I'm clapping. Like,
Those
that's...
probably have, like, valuable stuff like med equipment and stuff like that, and they just burst into flames just because of his gauntlets.
Oh, yeah.
Why the gauntlet? You have the weird part is he has a belt, too. Like, he has a separate belt, but there are no pouches on the belt.
The thing is, like, I can imagine just, like, his gauntlets just light on fire, it burns most of his equipment, and he's like, dude, like, your equipment is burning. I'm Azrael. Azrael doesn't need equipment. Like,
Azrael doesn't need equipment. Azrael avenges.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I just don't understand. Okay, well... So after he fails to save his newest person, they go back to the drawing board to try to figure out Leha's next move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you get this weird shot of Nomo, and his arms go down to, like, his feet. Like, there's this little, like, black and white, like, blue shaded drawing, and his arms go down to his feet.
Yep. They indeed do. And then we cut to Batman and Beast.
Laha.
Beast, Laha, whatever you want to call him at this point. And, like, Beast is in the Batman costume trying to pose as Batman. And Bruce is just tied up, and he's trying to play mind games with him, and it doesn't work.
They actually backfire, which is the funny thing.
And, like, I can definitely see the handlebars on the shoulders, like, the prominence, like, while he's wearing the Batsuit.
And it's in the close-ups of faces that I really noticed Kevin Nolan's art in this, because they don't look like normal Joe Quesada faces. They actually look more like Kevin Nolan faces.
Got you.
Kevin Nolan, by the way, recently did an issue for I think it was for Donny Cates' Doctor Strange run.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I think he did some backups and covers when Jason Aaron was on the book.
Alright.
Okay.
But if you follow him on Twitter, every once in a while he posts a Batman image. Or someone, I don't know, might have not been his account, might have been just like the Cool Comics Art account. But like there was they did like a Kevin Nolan week, so they were constantly like putting out cool Batman images by Kevin Nolan. I was like, oh, nice.
Fuck with that.
But Mikey, you want to take the final act of the story since this was your pick?
Alright, yeah, so as we said, like, Laha in the Batman suit's just talking to Bruce Wayne, trying to torture him, but, Bruce Wayne's just like, yeah, you can't torture me, I got training and all that other shit. So,
That's the best. He comes at Bruce twice.
Yeah,
and
honestly.
Bruce kicks him away twice.
Yeah, it's just like...
Like, he gets to the point where he's just so mad that he decides to just pull the gun and end it there.
Honestly. And, like, while he's trying to torture Bruce, he mentions, like, because, like, Bruce mentions, like, while you have my costume, you have my demon, which is betraying your demon, and he's just like, oh, blasphemy, like, and it kind of, like, and he also said, yeah, you could say I've been having this demon since I was 8 years old, and I was like, huh, that's, a nice little nod to, like, the whole Batman thing, which I thought was pretty cool. And then... right after when that happens, you see Nomo, John Paul, and Alfred trying to plan their next move to help rescue Bruce. And there's something in here. He and I like how here, Nomo, like they're just having like a little like argument, just decide what John Paul should do, and like Nomo's like, I don't give a fuck, just summon Azrael, and then Batman, and then fucking what's it called? Alfred's just like, no, was like, make sure like you hold restraint before you put on that mask, and you see like like how Demoan said, the whole like devil angel deal with John Paul, which I thought was really cool. Then right after that, they go in, they get Bruce. They go in, they get Bruce.
Not before Bruce has to battle a naked Francois.
Oh yeah, no, I tried to ignore that. That was just weird.
Kind of push that from your mind.
His grotesque body.
Okay. His grotesque fat body.
He's not an appealing man to look at.
He isn't even intimidating because he's so fat. Like, it's
He has this Punisher face on too.
It's more like
or like a Punisher
face. Like if you read Image. Like,
no, it's like he has the Punisher skull on his that's on his chest, but it's on his face.
Right.
Oh gosh, it's so weird. So then he has to fight naked Laha, and then Azrael comes in, wrecks shit with his flaming sword, sets everything on fire, and then
which of course then sets everything about to explode.
Yeah. And then I like what Azrael says here. He's like, when Alfred's like, we have to rescue Bruce because Bruce is like weak, and also he hasn't eaten, he's still a little bit drugged, and Azrael's like, Azrael does not rescue, Azrael avenges.
I'm like,
but he rescues Bruce by because Bruce wraps himself up in the Batman costume, so because it's flame retardant.
Yeah, it's fireproof.
So he leaves Francois Laha / Beast to die as they all escape.
Yeah.
And then the explosion, and then everyone's safe. And then as Nomo is yelling at Azrael, he's like, "You disobeyed everything."
Like, Azrael doesn't rescue. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
He's like, "I'm not an angel. I'm a man. My name is Jean Paul Valley. That was my father's name too." So the man's finally named because earlier he couldn't remember his own name, but he now remembers his name, so he has his mortality and morality back as a man. And then he is Azrael. Mm-hmm. And he's beaten the Order of Saint Dumas. But not now, he's beaten it now because he would constantly fight it. So
that's the thing with Azrael. He always fights his programming all the time. Yeah, it's it's ridiculous. Yeah, but this was cool.
I mean, it's all right. I don't particularly really enjoy the story. I of course enjoy the things that come after it much more with Nightfall, but I always wondered what Sword of Azrael was going to be like, because it is the story that introduces Azrael, and it's like Gothtopia. It's very by the beat and just kind of very standard, but I would like to say I enjoyed this far more than Gothtopia.
Oh, definitely.
Just because we do have still it is Dennis O'Neil writing. It's not at his peak, but it's still good. And Joe Quesada and Kevin Nowlan's art are fun to look at. Yeah. Even if Batman's weird shoulder pikes are there and really distracting.
Yeah, and the villain is drawn to be an obese man.
So. Well, the villain is so over the top that it's fun.
Yeah, it's a fun villain.
So you have that, but overall, I'd say, I don't know, after discussing it, it's one of those things of I enjoyed this more than I thought I did.
Yeah, and it also shows how much of how 90s Azrael is when it comes to his design.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would get worse when he became Batman.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, that one was...
Which, Joe Quesada designed that costume, and they said... I was talking to Vince about this. He said, this is how the story goes. They said, make it as 90s as possible.
Wow, okay.
And he submitted that first one, and they didn't have any complaints with it. They loved it so much that there was no redrafts or anything. They went with it. So, like, they clearly were aiming for the most over-the-top thing possible.
Yeah. And, like, with that Nightfall suit, like, you can see how ridiculous it is. Like, for example, like, if you ever play, like, Arkham Origins, that was a skin in the game.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, and it just looks really, like, it just looks so over the top, so ridiculous. Even, like, in motion, it's the funniest thing.
I'm going to have to look that up now, because I didn't know that was an available suit in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh, nice. Demoan, what about your thoughts?
Like I said, like I love the concept because like the whole night thing really like I love those kind of stories. But like I enjoyed the story, I'll say that. But like I definitely think there could have been parts that could have been worked better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Azrael's a cool character because like you know like the whole night thing and also like the religious motifs and stuff like that. Because like Azrael's an actual like person in the Bible. Well, it was explained in the Bible. So I mean, yeah, he's a cool character. Even though, like, Michael Lane is the one I like more, because, like, I've mostly introduced to him because of the Arkham games, and he looked awesome in the Arkham games, so.
I'd say Michael Lane is definitely more interesting as just because nothing was really done with him, and we haven't seen him again. John Paul Valley's same thing is he's just constantly fighting the Order of Saint Dumas, and then nothing was ever really done with him. I mean, he would go on to have an ongoing series written by Dennis O'Neil. But, like, it lasted a pretty long while, too. But, like, most of my stuff from reading that is, like, is in the No Man's Land collections.
All right.
So, like,
right.
They're just very standard, like, oh, it's Azrael in No Man's Land. And he fights some villains. So, there's that. But, as we're wrapping up, I think it's that time to reveal what the next pick on the Cowcast is. So we've been through our second run now, and it's time for another special guest. Vince from the Saga, the Clone Saga, is going to guest star in the next episode. So we have a Cowcast special edition coming up next, and that's going to be his choice.
Episode.
Yeah, his choice is going to be World's Finest, Superman Batman. Yeah. Written by Dave Gibbons and drawn by Steve Rude. It was a 3-issue prestige miniseries in 1990. I already said who the creator is. Dave Gibbons, obviously illustrated Watchmen. And then Kingsman. Did he say Kingsman? And then art by Steve Rude. So.
Okay.
No, I'm just completely blanking on things Steve Rude has done.
Well, yeah, but Dave Gibbons he's a cool artist and stuff like that. I like the Kingsman, I like the Watchmen, so. I
mean, obviously you have to like Watchmen, right? But
it's kind of a must.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's kind of a rite of passage almost. Now, Steve Rude is known for Nexus.
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. But he did a cover for Action 1000, and he's actually did a couple pages in Bendis' Man of Steel lately.
Okay, cool. That's good.
Yeah, I think he did some pages in issue 2.
Cool. Okay.
So hopefully we look forward to that, and we'll see you guys next week.
And as always, get home safe.
Get home safe.